What is up, Coaster fans, and welcome back to the 6th episode of the Coaster Rundown. My name is Cole, aka Park Pros. As always, I'm joined with my buddy Jack. Jack, how are we feeling this week?
Doing great, Cole. I can't believe we're at episode 6 already. We're rolling with this Coaster Rundown series. I can't wait to get into another one.
Yeah, we are, and we got a bunch of good news this week, so let's jump right into it. So last week, the 2020/2021 Golden Ticket Awards were announced by Amusement Today. For those who are unfamiliar with the Golden Ticket Awards, they're awarding the best of the best in the amusement industry. Now, most in the enthusiast community kind of understand that there's a certain level of politics involved with the Golden Ticket Awards. Amusement Today kind of likes to butter up the parks that host the award shows and buy advertisements from them. So the actual merit of these awards is always a little bit of a contentious topic within the community. But we can quickly go over some of the categorical winners. The best amusement park went to Europa Park in Germany. Best wooden coaster went to Phoenix at Knoebels. Best steel coaster went to Fury 325 at Carowinds. Best new attraction went to Rise of the Resistance at Disney's Hollywood Studios. And the best new coaster went to Velocicoaster at Universal's Islands of Adventure.
So another huge part of these awards is that they rank up the top 50 steel coasters as well as the top 50 wooden coasters each year, and usually they aren't quite up to coaster enthusiast standards. So as a part of this segment, Cole and I each came up with our top 3 worst takes from this year's Golden Ticket Awards. I'll be breaking down the wooden coaster list, and Cole will be going over the steel coasters. So Cole, let's start off with your steel coasters. What is your number 3 worst take from this year's list?
My number 3 worst take is Leviathan spot at number 8 on the list. Now, I haven't been on Leviathan yet, but it's hard for me to see it being better than rides like Terran, Intimidator 305, and Velocicoaster, which all rank lower than Leviathan on the list. Leviathan looks like a really solid ride, but people do say it's one of the weaker Giga coasters, and I just don't really see the merit for Leviathan as a top 10 coaster on this list.
Yeah, Leviathan at 8 doesn't really make much sense to me either. I also haven't been to Canada's Wonderland, so I can't, speak to that, personally. But it does seem a little bit high. Like you mentioned, it does seem like one of the weaker Gigas, so I got to agree with you there. But my number 3 worst take as far as the wooden coasters go is the fact that Beast is ranked higher than Mystic Timbers at the same park in Kings Island. The list goes Beast at 5 and Mystic Timbers at 6. And I have to just thoroughly disagree with that. I mean, obviously, Beast is great, and I do respect anybody that really likes Beast and all that. To me, Mystic Timbers just has like a complete edge over Beast. I mean, Beast is a really great, like, long layout. Obviously the setting is amazing, but to me, it all just comes down to airtime. Like, Beast doesn't really have much at all. Mystic Timbers has loads of it. So that's why I would definitely put Mystic Timbers higher than Beast.
Yeah, this just seems like a case of Amusement Today. Like, what they like to do is just putting these historical coasters within these rankings just to kind of butter up to the Acers and such. But on to my second worst take, which is also kind of the case of that. It's that Millennium Force is ranked number 2 overall in the steel coasters. And obviously I think most people would agree that that's just too high of a spot for Millennium Force in general. But what makes it even more ridiculous is the fact that Steel Vengeance is slated right behind it at number 3. Now, I'm probably higher on Millennium Force than most people are. But I don't think anyone in their right mind can make an argument for it over Steel Vengeance, which is right down the midway. So just another ridiculous one.
Yeah, no way. I mean, obviously that coaster to me is the 3rd best in the park. It's behind 2 other steel coasters, and obviously, like you mentioned, Steel Vengeance and of course Maverick. Right. One of my favorite launch coasters of all time. So agreed. I mean, I do love Millie. It's a great coaster, but it is not top tier compared to all of the other steel coasters in the world, let alone its own park.
Agreed.
Yeah, so my number 2 wooden coaster, hot take on this list is pretty much the fact that Boulder Dash is in the top 5. To me, Boulder Dash is very overrated. However, I've only had one ride on it. It just really didn't do it for me. And, it was a couple years ago, but to me, it's just very overrated. Maybe I need a back row ride. Maybe I need some room. But I just really didn't get any airtime. I was just kind of bored on the ride. I think it's definitely one of the most overrated coasters out there, and its spot on this list is a perfect example of that.
See, that's not one I'm sure I agree with you. I think Boulder Dash looks insane. It's probably my 2nd or 3rd top bucket list coaster I have left in the United States, so I obviously haven't been on it yet, but I don't know if I see the merit there. I mean, I could go either way on that one. Finally, the worst take, by far, indisputable, from the steel roller coaster category is the fact that Candemonium is ranked number 5 overall, which is just so ridiculous and dumb within itself. But then you take a look at the fact that it's ranked higher than Velocicoaster, which is ranked at number 18, even though within their own awards, Velocicoaster beat out Candemonium for the best new ride of 2020-2021. So the Golden Ticket Awards aren't even being consistent like across their different rankings and platforms. Like, it just makes no sense.
This one doesn't really make much sense to me either because it's just completely contradictory, especially over Velocicoaster. I mean, I haven't ridden it yet. It is probably like, you know, one of my like top 3 most anticipated coasters to get on in the country right now. But the number one worst take on the wooden roller coaster ranking list is Phoenix at number 1. And this thing has won so many Golden Ticket Awards. It's insane. And it is almost always at the top of the list. You make the argument, obviously, that El Toro is much better, and it's, you know, ranked 3rd on this list, which I think is pretty ridiculous. And Phoenix is even ranked higher than Voyage, which I thoroughly disagree with. I disagree with those very much so. But I will say Phoenix is awesome. Its airtime is amazing. The buzz bars are fantastic. But to me, you know, it's a top 50 coaster, but it's not a top 1 coaster, not at all.
Right. Yeah, Phoenix is a ride that kind of surprised me too in a good way, but to have it over rides like El Toro and Voyage is just utterly ridiculous. And I think a lot of that has to do with the fact that Knoebels, you know, has been a host of the Golden Ticket Awards in the past. Yeah, I mean, that's the Golden Ticket Awards for you.
So sticking to Pennsylvania, some great news for Hershey Park fans. The park's Intamin hypercoaster Skyrush has reopened after the cable on the cable lift hill snapped earlier this summer. A lot of people were worried that it wasn't going to open at all this year, but I was pretty optimistic the whole time that it would possibly open sometime this fall, and turns out that it is. So I was, you know, definitely thrilled to hear this. But Cole, how excited are you to hear that this is open, and is there any chance you'll be coming back to the East Coast anytime soon?
Yeah, great news for Hershey Park. I'm glad they figured out the whole cable situation. As far as going back to the East Coast, no plans. I do need to get back to Hershey because I missed out on Candemonium the last time I was there in 2020. But yeah, just good news for Hershey Park. Like we've kind of talked about in the show in the past, it's kind of been a mechanical disaster of a year for the amusement industry in 2021, and unfortunately Skyrush fell victim to that. But it's good to see that this isn't a long-term issue, and that hopefully they have no problems the rest of the season.
I think it's also really exciting to know that Hershey Park still really prioritizes like getting that ride reopened. I know a lot of people were like, well, you know, they have another hyper now, and you know, they might close Skyrush or anything like that. And it's like, no, like this was a big investment on the park. It's one of their most scenic rides, one of their most iconic rides. I think they're going to want it to last as long as possible. And, you know, cable snapping, that's not really that huge of an issue, but I'm glad that they got it done in a timely manner.
Yeah, and even just getting it back open this year, like you said, they have Candemonium now. They have a plethora of other, you know, awesome rides there that could easily fill the void. But it kind of just speaks to how well run of a park that Hershey is, that they prioritize getting this back up for 2021 instead of just kind of making it an off-season solution. So props to Hershey Park. So for our next story, we have this just crazy development out of Indiana Beach. As most of you probably know, they were scheduled to open the relocated Schwarzkopf coaster, formerly known as Chimera, that they're calling Triple Loop, this year in 2021. But this project has been delayed until 2022 as they wait for more parts from overseas. But late last week, the park was spotted building a support structure at the site of their old coaster Galaxy, which was removed in 2013. And then this past weekend, we saw new tracks spotted in that same lot where the Schwarzkopf track is being stored. And this track is consistent with a Zyklon Galaxy type model as well. A big shout out to Midwest Coaster fans, which is where this footage is from, and I believe was the first one to break this story. But Jack, it seems like it's official that Indiana Beach will either be A, bringing back their old Galaxy coaster for 2022, or B, bringing in a similar model that's been either relocated or from a new manufacturer, maybe updated. But overall, this is just a pretty crazy story out of left field. What are your thoughts on this development and then potentially opening 2 new coasters in 2022? New coasters, I guess.
Yeah, I guess so. I do think it's pretty bold by Gene Staples and the park as a whole to, you know, not even open yet, you know, the Triple Loop coaster, which is still sitting there mostly in pieces, and then already start bringing in another one. I think that's the most bizarre thing about this story. It's great for the park to get another coaster. I mean, obviously it's not the best model by any means, but, you know, it's still, you know, they're getting their numbers up, you know, and obviously every new coaster that they build is going to be another reason for coaster enthusiasts to, you know, either go there for the first time or return to the park. park. And you know how Gene Staples has definitely prioritized, the coaster community and like really, bringing back the park in the first place, and then, really just trying to, bring people in. Yeah, it's definitely like a strange story. I definitely really think that they should be prioritizing Triple Loop. It's very weird to me.
It is bizarre. I mean, their old Coaster Galaxy operated there for over 40 years, and if that is the one that they're rebuilding, you have to wonder what kind of shape that's in, sitting in storage for 8 years now after a 40-some-year operating career. That's definitely going to take some TLC if that's what their plan is.
Yeah, and it also seems like this might be catering to longtime fans of the park, bringing back basically the exact same model that they had before for such a long time. I do think that they would probably go with, like a relocated version of it that's maybe less old. I definitely think they're, playing a nostalgia card here and, catering to the old time fans of the park.
Yeah, and it's almost like a thank you from Gene Staples for being patient while they try to figure out these struggles that they've been having getting the triple looping coaster up. So
yeah, I guess it's almost like a consolation prize in
yeah,
a way.
Yeah.
For us waiting. So Six Flags Fiesta Texas has been plenty active recently, from Poltergeist being repainted to their new dive coaster announcement. This week is no different, as park president Jeff Siebert announced on Instagram that the park's RMC hybrid coaster Iron Rattler will be receiving a third train this offseason. This is great news for the ride, with it being at an ever-growing Six Flags park. And to my knowledge, the only other RMC hybrid that has 3 or more trains, at least in the U.S., is Steel Vengeance. This also marks the first time that Six Flags has worked with Gerstlauer since the New Texas Giant accident almost 10 years ago. And of course, Gerstlauer is the one that makes the trains for New Texas Giant and for Iron Rattler. So it's obviously great news in that aspect as well. But Cole, do you think this is a good move for the park or what?
In terms of maintenance, I think it's a great move for the park. Like you mentioned, not a lot of RMC coasters have 3 trains. Iron Rattler does not have the ability currently to run 3 trains at a time. So this is just more for maintenance issues, just to kind of ensure that they have 2 trains running at a time if a third one has some sort of issue. But like you said, I think the significant news here is the fact that Six Flags is once again working with Gerstlauer. Obviously, they had kind of an ugly breakup about 10 years ago. But prior to that, we were getting, Gerstlauer spinning coasters. We got a Eurofighter at Six Flags Over Georgia. And since then, we've seen the introduction of, like infinity coasters in Gerstlauer, which I think would be a great fit at a ton of these Six Flags parks. But Jack, the one part of this development I'm holding out hope for is maybe we could see some of the RMCs that came, after Iron Rattler and New Texas Giant in the Six Flags chain get those Gerstlauer RMC trains. For me personally, the RMC trains are not comfortable. They kill your shins. I don't really like the restraints all that much. Iron Rattler is my second favorite RMC just because the trains are so comfortable. They just make the ride such a better experience. So if Six Flags wanted to fork out some dough and, maybe put those Gerstlauer trains on some of their other iBox coasters within the chain, that is something I would not complain about, because I think it makes the ride experience so much better and more enjoyable.
I do think that, I'm kind of leaning towards the fact that this might just be a Fiesta Texas move, because it does seem like Fiesta Texas is kind of like doing their own thing almost apart from the chain. I do think that Six Flags is moving away from their uniformity, and they're kind of like, all the parks getting something equal, like all of them either getting like some sort of flat ride and things like that, and that they're going to be kind of more like individual decisions. And it really does seem like Fiesta Texas has been aggressive in their pursuit of new rides and updated rides, and like refurbishing the rides and things like that. Obviously it would be better for the chain as a whole if they are really working with Gerstlauer again. I mean, obviously Fiesta Texas shocked the world a few weeks ago, and is now building a B&M for the first time in like 10-15 years in the Six Flags chain. But who knows, maybe that's just Six Flags Fiesta Texas doing their own thing. I'm hoping not, but that's kind of what I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, and shout out to Six Flags Fiesta Texas. I think they've made it as a topic on like half of our shows so far, and that's
they're killing it.
That's not for no reason. They keep making these noteworthy, and park improvements, announcements. And yeah, I think Jeffrey Siebert is an amazing, park operator, and yeah, they keep making these moves that are really impressive. So
yeah, Great Adventure could really use Jeffrey Siebert. I mean, that park's been a nightmare this year. It's really been on the decline. So Jeff, if you want to pay raise, if you want to move to the East Coast, come on over here. We need you, pal.
So for our final topic today, Jack, it seems like the single rail fad that we've seen over the past couple of years in the amusement industry has finally made its way to the younger enthusiasts. Of course, we saw RMC start the single rail trend with their Raptor model. model. Then Intamin came out a couple years ago with their Hot Racer model that will be debuting at Luna Park in Sydney this year. And now Skyline has introduced their Spaghetti Bowl single rail children's coaster model. These coasters are fully customizable from the track texture to the trains, and overall just look really nice. Jack, I could totally see these becoming, a huge trend for parks, especially the smaller ones and maybe the indoor FECs and such. What are your thoughts on these?
Well, I think it's really nice that a new company is finally, breaking their way into the kiddie coaster game. I mean, obviously, SBF Visa has really been like the dominant one in the last 5-10 years. And then, historically, obviously, E&F Myler, those kiddie coasters are all over the place. So it's nice to see that, we're going to be seeing some new models. And honestly, the theming that they have on these rides, like the capability that they have is so impressive. And they even said that they can, install lights into the track themselves. So I think that's going to look awesome, like some of the indoor parks, some of the small FECs, things like that. I think it's a great move for the company, especially since, they're two Infinity Warp models were just such a failure.
Yeah.
The Harley Quinn one is, already closed, and apparently
Absolutely.
they're rough. And even though they're just really small layouts, obviously some companies have a rough start in the, getting their start in the amusement industry. Obviously, look at B&M, their first few were just stand-up coasters, and now they're building these huge giga coasters. It does look really great, and so it's I think it's pretty exciting, and especially because I am getting pretty sick of these SBF spinners. There's just too many of them. It's definitely getting pretty stale.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to be very often that kiddie coasters make their way onto, the limited topics we have on this show. But I mean, this model really caught my eye, and I could see Skyline kind of quartering the kiddie coaster market, with this model in the next couple of years. So very cool development there. That's it for this week's Coaster Rundown. Thank you as always for tuning in and making it this far. Jack, anything you want to plug this week?
Well, not much on the YouTube side, but apart from being a YouTuber, I am a little bit of an Instagrammer. Shout out to everybody on Instagram, but hey, if you don't follow me on Instagram already, what are you doing? Get on there.
Yeah, same for me. Go check out my Instagram, TikTok. All of our socials are down below, so if you don't follow us on there yet, go check them out. Thank you guys for tuning in, and we'll see you next time on the Coaster Rundown.